Margaret Chen thought she had personal hygiene figured out. At 68, she'd been taking care of herself for decades, following the same routines her mother had taught her as a young girl. But when she started experiencing recurring infections, persistent skin irritation, and embarrassing odors that seemed to appear no matter how much she scrubbed, she began to wonder if something was wrong with her body. Her doctor's response surprised her completely. "Margaret, you're not dirty. You're actually washing too much, and in all the wrong ways." Margaret's story is one that resonates with millions of women over 55. She discovered that 3 specific areas of her body required completely different care than what she'd been doing her entire adult life. More importantly, she learned that the changes happening in her body after menopause meant that her old hygiene habits weren't just ineffective, they were actually making things worse. What Margaret didn't realize is that aging brings profound changes to our skin, our hormones, and our body's natural protective mechanisms. The approach to personal care that worked beautifully in our 30s and 40s can become counterproductive, even harmful, as we enter our 60s and beyond. But here's the encouraging news. Once you understand what's happening in your body and adjust your routine accordingly, you can actually achieve better hygiene, more comfort, and greater confidence than you've had in years. The first area where Margaret was unknowingly causing problems was one that many women feel uncomfortable discussing, but it's crucial for health and comfort: the intimate area. For her entire adult life, Margaret had used regular soap and hot water, scrubbing thoroughly because she believed cleanliness meant being aggressive about removing any trace of natural body odor. She would use washcloths, sometimes even loofahs, and always made sure to soap up completely, including internally. What Margaret didn't understand is that after menopause, the vaginal area undergoes dramatic changes that make this approach not just wrong, but potentially dangerous. Estrogen levels drop significantly, which affects the thickness and elasticity of vaginal tissues. The natural pH level changes from the acidic environment that protected her during her reproductive years to a more neutral pH that's much more susceptible to harmful bacteria and infections. Dr. Sarah Williams, a gynecologist who specializes in women's health after 50, explains it this way: the vaginal area has its own delicate ecosystem, much like a carefully balanced aquarium. When you use harsh soaps, hot water, and aggressive scrubbing, you're essentially dumping bleach into that aquarium and wondering why all the beneficial bacteria die off. The result is that harmful bacteria can take over, leading to infections, odors, and irritation that no amount of additional scrubbing will fix. The correct approach for women over 55 is counterintuitive but incredibly effective. Margaret learned to use only lukewarm water and her bare hands to gently cleanse the external area. No soap, no washcloths, no internal cleaning whatsoever. If she felt she needed something more than water, she would use a pH-balanced, fragrance-free intimate cleanser specifically designed for mature women, but only on the external areas. The transformation was remarkable. Within 2 weeks, the recurring yeast infections that had plagued Margaret for months completely disappeared. The irritation and burning sensation that had made sitting uncomfortable vanished. Even the persistent odor that had made her self-conscious during intimate moments with her husband was gone. Her body's natural protective mechanisms were finally able to function properly. The second area where Margaret was causing herself problems was her face, particularly around her eyes and mouth. Like many women, she had developed a routine of thorough cleansing with anti-aging products, exfoliating regularly, and using hot water to really get everything clean. She would scrub her face with a washcloth every morning and evening, paying special attention to areas where she noticed age spots or wrinkles, thinking that more aggressive cleaning would help her skin look younger. But after age 55, facial skin undergoes changes that make this approach counterproductive. The skin becomes thinner, more fragile, and produces significantly less natural oil. The barrier function that protects our skin from environmental damage becomes compromised. What Margaret thought was helping her fight aging was actually accelerating it. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, a dermatologist who focuses on mature skin, sees this mistake constantly in her practice. She explains that aggressive cleansing strips away the skin's natural protective oils, which become increasingly precious as we age. When you remove these oils, your skin tries to compensate by producing more oil in some areas while becoming extremely dry in others. This leads to the combination of oily T-zones and dry, flaky patches that many women over 55 experience. Margaret learned to completely change her facial cleansing routine. Instead of hot water, she began using lukewarm water. Instead of scrubbing with a washcloth, she used only her fingertips to gently massage a cream-based cleanser into her skin. She eliminated daily exfoliation, instead doing it only once or twice a week with the gentlest possible product. Most importantly, she learned to listen to her skin rather than following a rigid routine. The results were visible within a month. The red, irritated patches around her nose disappeared. The tight, uncomfortable feeling she experienced after washing her face was replaced by skin that felt soft and comfortable. Even her makeup began applying more smoothly because her skin was properly hydrated rather than damaged by over-cleansing. But the third area where Margaret was making mistakes was perhaps the most surprising: her scalp and hair. She had always been proud of her thick, healthy hair, and she maintained it by washing it every single day with clarifying shampoo, believing that clean hair meant daily washing with the strongest products available. She would scrub her scalp vigorously, use hot water to really clean it, and always follow up with intensive conditioning treatments. What Margaret didn't realize is that after menopause, the scalp undergoes significant changes. Hormonal shifts affect oil production, just like they do for facial skin. The hair follicles become more fragile, and the hair shaft itself becomes thinner and more prone to breakage. Daily washing with clarifying shampoos was stripping away the natural oils that her scalp was producing in smaller quantities, leaving both her scalp and hair vulnerable to damage. Dr. Lisa Thompson, a trichologist who specializes in hair and scalp health for mature women, explains that the scalp is an extension of facial skin and should be treated with similar gentleness. Overwashing mature scalp can lead to dryness, flaking, irritation, and even hair loss. The vigorous scrubbing that Margaret thought was keeping her scalp healthy was actually causing microdamage to hair follicles and contributing to the thinning she had begun to notice. Margaret's new approach to hair care was revolutionary for her. She reduced washing to every other day, and on some weeks, every third day. She switched from clarifying shampoos to gentle, sulfate-free formulas designed for mature hair. Instead of scrubbing her scalp, she learned to massage the shampoo in gently with her fingertips, focusing on cleansing rather than aggressive removal of oils. The change was dramatic. Within 6 weeks, Margaret's scalp irritation completely disappeared. Her hair became softer, shinier, and more manageable. The thinning that had worried her seemed to slow down, and new growth appeared healthier and stronger. Her hairdresser even commented on how much better her hair looked and felt. But perhaps the most important lesson Margaret learned was that good hygiene after 55 isn't about doing more, it's about doing things differently, with an understanding of how your body has changed. The aggressive approach that might have worked in younger years can actually be counterproductive for mature bodies that need gentler care. The science behind these changes is fascinating and important to understand. After menopause, estrogen levels drop dramatically, affecting every aspect of skin and tissue health. Collagen production decreases, making skin thinner and more fragile. Natural oil production slows down, compromising the skin's barrier function. The pH levels of various body areas shift, changing the microbial environments that keep us healthy. These aren't defects or failures of the aging body, they're natural adaptations that require us to adapt our care routines accordingly. When we understand what's happening and adjust our approach, we can actually achieve better health and comfort than we had before. Margaret's transformation went beyond just solving her immediate problems. Understanding proper hygiene for her age group gave her confidence she hadn't felt in years. She no longer worried about odors or infections disrupting her day. Her skin looked and felt better than it had in a decade. Her hair became a source of pride again rather than frustration. Most importantly, Margaret learned to see her changing body as something to care for thoughtfully rather than something to fight against. This shift in perspective affected not just her hygiene routine, but her entire approach to aging. She began to appreciate the wisdom that came with understanding her body's needs and meeting them appropriately. The three areas Margaret learned to care for differently, intimate areas, facial skin, and scalp, are the same areas where most women over 55 make similar mistakes. The solutions are surprisingly simple once you understand the underlying changes happening in your body. For intimate care, remember that less is more. Use only lukewarm water and gentle, pH-appropriate products if needed. Never use regular soap or scrub internally. Allow your body's natural protective mechanisms to function by not disrupting them with over-cleansing. For facial care, treat your skin like the delicate, precious resource it is. Use lukewarm water, gentle cleansers, and your fingertips rather than washcloths or scrubbing tools. Listen to your skin's needs rather than following aggressive routines designed for younger skin types. For hair and scalp care, reduce the frequency of washing and switch to gentler products. Treat your scalp like facial skin, with care and respect for its changing needs. Focus on nourishing rather than stripping away natural oils. Margaret often reflects on how much unnecessary discomfort she experienced simply because no one had ever explained these changes to her. She wishes she had learned sooner that the hygiene rules that served her well in her younger years needed to evolve as her body evolved. If you're experiencing any of the issues Margaret faced, recurring infections, skin irritation, hair problems, or persistent odors despite careful cleaning, consider whether your hygiene routine might need updating for your current life stage. Sometimes the solution isn't trying harder with the same old methods, but trying differently with new understanding. Your body at 55, 65, or 75 deserves care that honors its current needs, not care that fights against its natural changes. Margaret discovered that when she stopped washing these three body parts wrong and started caring for them appropriately, she felt more comfortable, confident, and healthy than she had in years. The journey to better hygiene after 55 begins with understanding that your body's needs have changed, and that's perfectly normal and manageable. Margaret's story shows that with the right knowledge and gentle adjustments, you can solve persistent problems and feel better in your own skin at any age. What changes have you noticed in your body's response to your current hygiene routine? Have you experienced any of the issues Margaret faced? Try adjusting your approach to these three crucial areas and let us know in the comments if you notice improvements. Your experience might help another woman discover the comfort and confidence that comes with age-appropriate self-care.